there is our quarterback, Perry, fourth, or one of our quarterbacks. We got to acknowledge Garcia too. What's up, man?
What's happening, brother? We bye week. We have made it. We've made it to the bye week.
What's a typical bye week like, especially that first week? Like, or we, you know what I'm saying? The first few days of that first week.
Yeah, so you typically are doing your normal cadence through like a normal game week, right? You come in, you meet, you watch the film, you learn, and then you typically you won't have practice. Like they're not practicing Monday. They probably had Sunday off as well. They'll come in Tuesday, go through the normal, like I just mentioned, have a couple practices, good, hard, firm practice Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday is typically like, you're going to do your warm up, you're going to do your indie, you're going to do maybe some 7-on-7, but it's predominantly all about the younger guys, getting them reps, getting them playing, getting them competing. And then in my past, you had Friday through the rest of the weekend off to either go home, go see family, just kind of kick back, relax, be a college student for 3 days out of the fall, watch some football, and just kind of relax a little bit.
Well, I would venture a guess that down in Baton Rouge, they're probably giving Garrett Nussmeier as much rest as they can get him until they've got to get him up and get him going to prepare for the Gamecocks defense next Saturday night. We have mentioned multiple times this week, and Brian Kelly acknowledged it in his press conference the other day that he had an ab strain and they got him. He was good, and they've had to work through it, but it's okay. He's going to be ready to go. He's going to get some rest. He'll be ready to go next Saturday, and he's going to be ready to play his best football of the season. All that coach speak stuff, Perry,
yep.
the things you want to hear. But I know a few people who've had some oblique tears and some ab strains, and they don't go away. They don't go away. You can tell me about all the rest you want for 2 weeks. It ain't happening, buddy. I mean, it can flare up at any point in time. As a quarterback, I don't know if you ever had any ab issues when you were playing quarterback, but I mean, give us a little bit more in depth or a little bit more detail on the randomness of, if you will, if it's not always there, they can give you a shot and numb some of that, but the randomness of how that could be affecting a kid who's trying to plant his foot, throw the football. He's got a lot of torque going on down there, all those things.
Well, yeah, you hit it on the head. It's the torque, right? It's all that lower body turn, and you're using your core to generate power to throw the football down the field and to drive it into holes and into gaps in coverage that you have to do. And if you're not able to do that, and the other thing, like anything with your back or your core, like ribs, I've never had like ab stuff, but I've had rib related issues that they just, like you said, they don't go away. It only goes away with rest, and every move you make, it hurts. And like you can shoot it up with like pain sales, but the it doesn't do the justice as if it like you having like a shoulder thing. And the only way that you can recover is through rest. But if you want to try to get him out there for the South Carolina game specific that he could really, really get hurt in, because all it takes is him having to move and make one quick throw and it turns, then it tears, then he's done for the year. I'd be shocked if he plays. I know he's saying that. I would be really shocked if he plays, and I would be even more shocked if he plays well. If the injury is bad as what they're saying on the Twitter world, which obviously you take with a grain of salt, but if they're saying it's as bad as if it is as bad as they're saying, it could be a problem for him. Good for us.
Yeah, I know, man. You don't want to wish injuries on anybody, but sweet mother, I've been around a long time, and I've seen this team that we talk about have plenty of injuries that have affected games. Oh, I don't know, like Sellers going down a couple of times in the last 2 seasons, and beyond that, he kind of nice to get one back every so often. Did you see the video that was on Twitter of him throwing?
No, I did not.
You didn't? Yeah, it's almost like when he landed, when he was putting his front foot, or I guess his left foot, when he was throwing the football and putting that foot on the ground, it was almost like after he released the football, Perry, that he kind of replaced his front foot with his back foot, like he didn't want to put too much pressure. That's why a lot of people were thinking, well, maybe he's got a knee or an ankle or something like that. But then when they mentioned ab, that made just as much sense to me as a knee or an ankle would, because you're trying to get your body through without creating as much of that torque as you would have, right? I'm not a doctor. Nobody mistake me for that.
Right? Your front foot is like in the form throwing world of quarterback. That's like your stabilizer foot, right? You plant that and then you want to turn into it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And that torque, right? That catapult motion, right? Think baseball swing. The motions of your body are very similar, right? Baseball, you kind of come here a little bit, where football, you're more straight rotational, almost like a T.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to cause some issues. You're not going to get half the power that you normally do doing that. You might be able to throw a good spiral or throw it accurately because you're gifted, but you're not going to drive it down the field and make the throws that you have to at this level of competition. And that's what I'm saying is, like, unless they've got the best ice and cold therapy with stem and masseuse and the whole 9 yards down there that gets him ready to go. I'm going to be shocked if he plays, and if he plays the whole game.
Yeah. So if you're South Carolina, their backup quarterback is Michael Van Buren. He started 9 games last year, and I'm pretty sure he was a freshman. He was a true freshman out of Bowie, Maryland. Never heard of that. Him and Nussmeier are two totally different looking dudes. This kid's 6'1", 6 foot, 190 pounds. Nussmeier's a pretty big boy. So if you're the Gamecocks, you would imagine that they are probably preparing for both, right?
Yeah. Is the Van Buren kid, is that the same kid from Mississippi State?
Yeah, he played last year in Starkville. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know he left to go to LSU. Wonder why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I just don't think he was going to play much. The Shaping kid being their quarterback, but if he wasn't going to play much at LSU either. But Nussmeier, I mean, this is supposed to be his last year, so I guess.
That makes sense. Yeah, so I mean, you're going to have to prepare for both, right? You've got a dual threat and pocket passer. I mean, golly, what a wide range of game plan you've got to get ready for. So obviously, you got to prepare for the QB run. You got to prepare for zone read. And you're going to have to implement some type of a spying, some spy scenario where you've got somebody following him so he just doesn't go running gang free when we get pressure on him. So there's a lot that goes into it. But typically you'd be like, man, I wish that we just, their backup was a pro style guy. So you could just kind of prep for what they do offensively with Nussmeier. But then, you're going to have to go into the archives of who's their play caller, who's calling plays for LSU.
Who knows?
Whoever it is, you're going to have to go back and see through the archives of film, excuse me, to see, has he ever coached a dual threat quarterback? And if he has, you need to watch, what did he call? What kind of plays did he call? What kind of offense did he run? All of those things you're going to have to prepare for. So Clayton White and his staff are going to have to hit the XOS digital archive to pull up some film from this guy.
Yeah, Joe Sloan is the OC, but there has long been speculation that Brian Kelly's actually on the headset calling a lot of these plays. So I don't. I mean, Sloan was the OC last year, and he's the OC this year. He was the quarterback's coach for the Tigers in 22 and 23, and prior to that, he was either the co-OC or the OC for three years at Louisiana Tech, and he was a position coach before that. I mean, he's a pretty good young mind, I guess. He's younger than I am. Damn. But Kelly is. I mean, it's kind of his deal. You know what I mean? With the Carolina defense, what did you see from those guys this past weekend?
Yeah, I thought they finally were able to get pressure on the quarterback. They looked like back to the Clayton White defense of old, where that get pressure with the 4 down and able to attack. And other than the first drive, Kentucky was really stymied in the run game. And anytime the guy dropped back to pass, he had pressure. And so that's going to make any secondary look strong, right? So more of what we have seen historically. I'd say the second half of Vandy through the Missouri game, we just seemed to be out of sorts at all, or a little bit. And our run defense suffered tremendously there. But I would say our run defense was more so in the Missouri game, just poor tackling. They couldn't get that kid to the ground than it was out of position. It wasn't like the guy was running down the field untouched. I mean, they were making contact, just not bringing him to the ground. And so it appears like they've made a major correction there. And, we're going to have to pack the defense if we want to go down there and win, because that's going to be crazy environment, hard to communicate. We're still not exploding offensively. So it's going to need to be another 17-14-esque game for us to play and pull ahead.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think if they win next week, it'll be low scoring. Obviously, we'll talk plenty about this game next Thursday too. But turning to the offense, as you pointed out there, I mean, they did get 178 yards on the ground on 48 carries or something like that the other night, and a lot of that had to do with Lenoris and what he was able to generate. We pointed this out earlier in the week, Perry. They were in the red zone 3 times, and they were able to punch it in to the end zone 3 times down there with the run game, and that has not been the case largely throughout the season.
Yeah,
but it was on Saturday night. What'd you see there?
There was more diversity than anything else that I saw.
Okay.
Well, I take that back. There was more diversity in the run game, which I liked. I love the zone read, outside zone, inside zone, gap scheme with some counters, but I felt that we had a hat on a hat for the majority of the game from an offensive line standpoint. Obviously, I don't watch the film. I don't going from a guy that was sitting 37 rows up in the stadium trying to wrestle a daughter wiggling in and out of my arms. But I saw the running backs breaking tackles. I saw them breaking through the first man of contact, and you've heard me talk on the radio or with you about the one rule that we had as players, and then I took into coaching, was the goal was to make that first guy miss. And right, if you get a hat on a hat, then that backside backer or that insert safety has to be the guy that you make miss as the ball carrier. And I saw more of that. And I saw Lenoris look like Lenoris again. When the pocket breaks down, it was just boom, go, run, go make a play, versus kind of go in and out and bounce around and do all of these different things that maybe seemed a little unnatural or not as comfortable as he had been in the past. So it was great to see that kind of combine into one. And I know from a yardage standpoint, the numbers didn't jump out off the screen, but from I think from a production standpoint and from a yards per play standpoint, I thought it was much, much better than we have been. And the other thing I'll kind of wrap with, and you may be coming to this, maybe not, but is when you're on the sideline for 10, 12 minutes of real time as an offense, it just throws the whole rhythm out of the equation, right? And it was great scoring defensive points. It was phenomenal. But it kind of reminds me a little bit of the South Carolina State game, where they're out there trying to get in a rhythm, and then the guy keeps returning punts back, and you're literally sitting on the sideline 10, 12, 15 minutes of real time where you're having to stretch again, warm up again, throw again, and you're doing all these things. It jacks up the rhythm of the game. And I did see a little bit of that on Saturday. And then, we have a couple of those big defensive plays, but then, we ended up, I think we had a drive and we ended up going to half. So it had been almost an hour of real time that we hadn't been into that rhythm of what we were doing when we first started the game. So you got to take all of those factors into consideration. I know it sounds like I might be making excuses for everybody, but I'm not. That's just genuinely the real thing. I've been on both sides of it as a player and a coach. So it's hard to manufacture that energy when you've been on the sideline for that long.
Well, and yeah, and too, again, if you go back, every game that Kentucky and Carolina has played in this Beamer versus Stoops era, Kentucky's defense has never just let South Carolina go out there and fling it all over the place or run it down their throat. I mean, Carolina averages like 310 yards per game against Kentucky offensively in the last 5 years, dude. But they've won 4 in a row. The difference has been turnovers. Carolina's plus 11 in that department, and now they're 4-0 in the last 4 games against Kentucky. So I mean, like, it's. I think that a lot of the narrative this week has been, and I understand it. I'm not saying somebody's wrong for saying this, but a lot of the narrative has been, well, Kentucky isn't very good or wasn't very good, and Carolina still couldn't manage to get 350, 400 yards of offense or whatever it is, and that's true. But it's also true that Kentucky has annually schemed up the Gamecocks offense, no matter who's been at quarterback, no matter who's called the plays, no matter who's been on the field, like their style of play offensively, and then what they do defensively has given Clayton White or given South Carolina's offensive coordinators and their players some issues.
Yeah.
But I thought that they did some good things. I mean, I really did. I mean, I was looking at, I had a little chart on Monday of, well, what did we know going into the game? And then coming out of the game, what did we see, or what did we see that improved, or whatever the case was? And largely every single category that they had struggled with was improved, Perry. Third down conversions, third down stops on defense, penalties, tackling, and then the run game. I mean, the numbers were inflated because of Sellers, but let's be honest. Your run game is going to be better when that kid is carrying the football 14 or 15 times a game, right?
Certainly. Yeah, no, you're hitting the nail on the head. And listen, we're going to find out here next week if Kentucky was really that bad, or we're doing what we've done under Shane Beamer and just progressively get better as the season goes along. Entering game 6 and in 2 weeks, whole nother week of prep and practice. And I know we've lost to some different teams, but we're going to find out Saturday what Vandy's all about. And then next Saturday, or no, this Saturday they play Bama. And then next Saturday, Missouri's playing Bama. Mm-hmm. So we might get a Bama team that's beat up a little bit by the time we get a hold of them, right? So we're going to find out a little bit more about some of these teams that we've played so far, because you think, oh, we lost to Vandy and Missouri already. Well, that might be the equivalent to us last year losing to Alabama and LSU, right? So we've there's still a lot that has to unfold throughout the season. And one of the things that I liked, and I'd like to know, do you know off the top of your head, how many offensive plays did we have on Saturday? Do you know, Jamie?
Yeah, I do.
It wasn't very much. I don't think it was even 50.
Yeah, it's
because Lenoris threw it 14 times, because I was about to bring up how I saw he was 11 of 14.
And they ran it 40. Well, they ran it 48. It ended up, that final drive pushed them to like 60. I think it was like 61 or 62 plays or something.
Okay, so in real football, like of them actually competing and trying to play the game and move the offense, right at that 50, that is so, even 61 plays is so light.
Mm-hmm. 63. I'm sorry, because
and then you take
Mason Love threw a pass, so let's go with 62 on the offense. Yeah.
Okay. So you're at the mid-50. That's still light. So if you look at the yards we've gained per play, it's still not where you want to be, but it's got to be better than it has been. And more importantly, the running game improved, right? We know what Lenoris is capable of through the air. We know he's gifted thrower, probably going to be the number 1 quarterback taken, might even be the number 1 overall pick, is what their people are still saying. He's clearly got the ability. And it has shown it numerous times. We've got to get more consistent in the run game. There's no secret. The teams that run the ball and stop the run win games in this league. And it was an area of focus after the Missouri game, -9 rushing yards versus the 280. And they came out and they made it a point of emphasis, which I liked. And I love hearing the people bicker in the stands about it. When it's 2nd and 5 and they're wanting to chuck it deep or chunking around somewhere, and we run an inside zone and get 4 yards, 3rd and 1, they're like, why are we running up the middle? How many times did you hear that? Why are we running up the middle? Well, a little bit more to it than that, right? Run an inside zone, running back hits the hole, and it just happens to be with the movement of the line that appears to the untrained eye as if, well, they're just running up the middle. Well, that's not the case. And so when you when you can sit back and watch the game holistically, it allows you to kind of see more than and see, you at least see what they're trying to accomplish with their dedication to the run game on Saturday.
I had somebody ask me that actually in the ball game the other day. Golly, why do we keep running up the middle? I said, hold on real quick. I picked up my phone. I put it on my ear. I said, Shane didn't answer. I'll get back to you. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I'm not on the headset.
That's hilarious.
Sellers, when he's creating the magic out there, he's locked in. Matter of fact, I think he gets so locked in that he zooms a couple of those intermediate crossing routes and stuff in there that come in a little hot. But I just think that's just a byproduct of just him being just so in the moment. I'll live with one or two of those a game if he's able to kind of do what he does and create with his legs, both off through the air and on the ground. It is a pretty exotic LSU defense. Blake Baker is long known for that. He was there at Missouri. He'll send guys from all over the place. They got a good core group of linebackers. As we know, Harold Perkins, I can't believe the kid's still in school, but he is. And they got players. And again, we will dive much more into this next Thursday, but just kind of a surface level, quick conversation on it. When you got a defense like LSU who's willing to take some chances and make you uncomfortable, but then you got a guy like Lenoris Sellers, what do you do?
So they're going to be in man-to-man. That's what they do. They play man coverage. They bring exotic pressures and exotic fronts, but they're going to be in man with a spy, obviously, which will probably be the Perkins kid on Lenoris. As a play caller and a Steve Spurrier disciple, when you play a man-to-man team, you are, as a play caller, you are salivating. You are so fired up for them to be in their man coverage because you can cut that 9 ways to Sunday. And there's a bunch of different ways to do it. And I think that we're starting to see some guys, Van Dreekus, is that how you say it, right?
Van Drevius, but he goes by Dre. We'll go with Dre. Make it easy.
Mr. Dre, Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Dre, he's stepped up his game, and Nick Harbor's been playing better, and a few other the young cats are getting some action. Man on man, we got to be better than them, but there are plays that you can do: crossing routes, rub routes, slants, double moves, move the pocket, speed option, run the QB draws. All of those things are great versus man-to-man. If you live in that and the offensive line is able to protect a hat on a hat, the guy that they're blocking, they're able to keep in front of for 3 to 3.5 seconds. You have chances to really, really exploit them. I think what LSU showed against Clemson is that they obviously made it an effort to put major pressure on Cade, and they did a really good job of that. And for us, I think that designed QB runs, I think, would be a great implementation of the plan this week, and then move the pocket, double moves, rub routes, all of those things are great versus man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, through the air, yardage wise, and a lot, and the quarterbacks they played, Lagway and the Chambliss kid, Ole Miss last week. There's been a lot of attempts. I'm not so sure South Carolina is going to run in there and throw it 40 plus times next Saturday night. I would bet a heavy under on that, as a matter of fact. But there has been yardage there where LSU has been really good this year is creating turnovers. I mean, golly, Lagway threw 5 picks. Now, look, I watched every one of them. None of them were good. Like, oh, that's understandable. No, like no, not really, like they just weren't good, but, and I understand some of what he was doing from time to time, but I'll take Lenoris Sellers over every one of those quarterbacks. Yeah, I'm in your boat 1,000 times over on that. And, I can't wait to talk more about that next week, because I would love to see Nick Harbor's and even some of these tight ends. You get a Jordan Dingle, or you get a Mike Smith if he's good and healthy and ready to go, or a Mo Brown, whatever. I mean, those guys, they can play football, man.
Yeah.
Brian Rowe has been able to escape. This group of wide receivers for South Carolina, I'll say it, I'm not scared to, is pretty good. They're just young.
Yeah.
The offense hadn't catered very well to them this year because they haven't really been able to stop anybody. And there's some things you'd like to have back from time to time. But overall, it's a pretty good group of kids. And maybe an additional week of prep time will set us up for something we don't see coming next Saturday night down on the Bayou. You remember playing down there in 2015, don't you?
Yes, we played in a half-empty stadium, though.
That was the game that got moved. Yeah.
Yeah, they were good. Leonard Fournette, he was a tough one to stop.
Well, that year, remember, LSU fans welcomed the Gamecocks to town. Oh, man, we're so sorry about the flooding. Come to town. We're going to take care of you. We're going to feed you. We love having you. We're all Gamecocks today. That ain't going to be the case next Saturday night when they play.
I will also tell you, when it was 17-14 at halftime, that nice, warm, friendly vibe of how the home team was not going to get on their feet and yell quickly changed mid-third quarter.
Yeah, that's right. They cheered when everybody ran out of the tunnel. Oh, the Gamecocks are here. These poor guys are going through so much. 17-14. All right, start throwing the bottles again.
Exactly. I appreciate it, man. Good stuff as always. Looking forward to breaking it down next week.
MoultrieINS.com right there. Perry Orr. Thanks, brother.
That's it. See you guys. Appreciate it.
Man. There you go. Perry Orr, one of our quarterbacks, the one who's generally clothed and not a potty mouth.